I'm interested in the carbon footprint. Reading that to produce an electric vehicle currently, give or take, it produces maybe twice the carbon impact versus a internal combustion engine vehicle. Want to know if that's true or not, or if that's roughly the dynamic. And then it begs the question of what's the useful life, and of course the battery and so forth. And has there been any study, and anyone can answer this, to where you look at what the CAFE standards would have to go to in terms of miles per gallon before it would make the whole argument of an electric vehicle more of a moot point? And normally that would seem to be something, especially if I was making a regular vehicle, I'd want to know, well, how good would we need to make the mileage before it would make the whole argument for electric vehicles maybe less relevant, and addressing the fact that to produce one, it has twice the carbon footprint just to get it on the road.
We'll try that. I have heard this statistic about twice the amount of greenhouse gas emissions. I have no idea where that comes from, and that seems a little bit odd to me. I think certainly recycling is one of the ways that we can reduce the carbon footprint that it takes to produce an electric vehicle. But I think that we're also, it's important to pay attention to another issue in terms of what's really driving the move to vehicle electrification. Part of it is greenhouse gas emissions, but part of it also is that everything is just electrifying. When we started putting automatic locks and heated seats in cars, you're moving to things like autonomous drive, which are huge draws of electricity on the vehicle. Our vehicles are going to become electric regardless of what fuel prices do. That's just the way that technology is going. We're going to be riding around in computers on wheels, and computers don't tend to run on gasoline very well. So I think the vehicle electrification is coming for a number of different reasons, and I don't know that just increases in fuel economy in the internal combustion engine are really going to, in the long term, significantly slow down that trend.
Fair point. And then Mr. Sanders, on you mentioned earlier roughly $5,000 was that the cost to rehabilitate a worn battery, and what is the cost of the new battery in the average EV currently, and then what does it cost to recycle one to where is its life as long as the original battery once it's recycled?
The $5,000 was a typical battery that's in China now that is basically for an electric vehicle, so what would be here a mid-size type vehicle. There's such a range on each one of those pieces of data that it's hard to quote a given number. But the bottom line in China is they've put together a collection organization basically that allows the folks doing collection and collecting the battery and readying it for recycling to make money. And then it appears now that the companies that are doing the recycling, because of the metals value that they can recover out of the recycling process, once they get to commercial scale, which we're projecting at about 20,000 units, which is not terribly big, they should be able to make money themselves. So there appears to be financially viable ways of doing this, but it's going to take basically that same type of commitment that China did to basically establish that directive, establish the collection process, and drive it through the value chain. Whether it ends up being a hybrid of something like we did for lead acid, where there was support for the recycling through the value chain, or whether it's totally done in a different economic model here, I think is still to be determined.
And is the projected cost of that recycled battery, once you got to economy of scale, going to be less than the original cost of a new one? Is there any data on that? Because I think that'd be a strong case for not only rebuilding building the infrastructure for recycling, but it'd be a cost savings as long as the life of the recycled battery is, close to what the new one would be.
There certainly is that opportunity for profitability basically beyond where they're taking recycling today. Where they're taking recycling today is to the metals precursors only. But there's the conversion then to the cathode, there's the conversion into the battery itself that basically can be done at a profitable level through the value chain. But there's also significant companies and IP that has been established for the conversion of those precursors into a battery material and into the batteries themselves. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to play out. You know, that's still to be determined. But there are large organizations that have established, that are battery manufacturers, that have established themselves as the leaders in establishing that value chain and establishing the recycling. So they certainly think that there is the opportunity there to make money through this value chain and to improve profitability and sustainability by doing it themselves.
Thank you.